In this section, we're going to cover installing all the necessary software if you're on a Windows or PC computer. If you're on a Mac computer, I will have a separate video explaining all the different setups for Unity in that environment. So the first thing up is to install Unity itself, or necessarily the Unity Hub, which is going to house all the different versions of Unity that we would ever need. So go ahead and navigate, open up your favorite browser. I'm using Chrome. Navigate to unity.com, and right on the home page, they have a download link, and I'm going to go ahead and select. And then right on that next page, right for us, is a download for Windows. This is going to install or download the actual Unity Hub setup exe file that we need to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this download for Windows. I'm going to let that download. And once that's downloaded, I'm able to select this exe and open up the application to run the setup. Now, for some reason, if you don't see this or it has not downloaded like this, this is what it looks like on Chrome. Maybe you're on a different browser and it doesn't show up here at the bottom, and this actually has gone away. But you do need to know where this setup exe file is at. If you navigate to your File Explorer, that's usually on the taskbar is where your File Explorer lives, or sometimes on the Start menu, you'll have your File Explorer as well. And once you're in the File Explorer, you want to navigate to your Downloads under your Quick Access, and there is my Unity Hub setup. And I'm going to go ahead and double click to set this up. I'm going to allow Unity access, and I want to agree to the terms and services. It's going to install this on my C drive. It's going through the process of installing the Unity Hub. I do want to run the Unity Hub once I've installed it to verify that it has run successfully. But before I press finish here, I don't need this download window, this File Explorer window. I can go ahead and click on the X to close that out. And I'm going to press finish. And there you have the Unity Hub installed. Now it's going to jump and try to go to the current version of Unity. Right now, for the LTS or long-term support, they're saying that they're up to version 2022.3.4.f1. And this is what it wants to install. This is the required amount of space, 4.94 gigs. I have available 402 gigabytes, so I have enough space for this. I could locate an existing file, but if this is the first time you're installing this, you won't have it anywhere else. I could skip this installation. I can look for other versions of Unity, but because this one's one recommending, let's go ahead and install this one. But let's say in a future video, there is a different version of Unity, or there's a different version available to you when you were to watch this video. You want to keep the versions, make sure that it has the LTS version, but make sure that it's within the range of the primary number here, 2022. So if I have a 2022, try to stick within that range, or a 2021. And so, for instance, if I was to skip this installation for a moment, so now I have no installations whatsoever, no installs. So I want to go ahead and install the editor. So it's given me some other choices here. This is the current one, the recommended version. There is one from 2021.3.28.f1. This is the previous long-term support, or the one from 2020.3.48 as well. So whenever you're installing the different versions of Unity, again, try to stay within the same range of the first number here. The secondary numbers, they're small fixes along the way, but as long as you're within that same primary number 2020, 2021, or 2022. The software should run. We're not going to get too in depth into the editor itself that those changes are going to be necessary. So we could just go ahead and install this recommended version here, 2022, and go from there. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and install the recommended version. They have some other beta ones out there as well, but that's a little bit beyond our scope here. So I'm going to go ahead and install this recommended version. I'm going to press install. It's going to ask me for some modules now to install. It's going to want to install the Microsoft Visual Studio Community 2022. We're going to use this for our scripting files. So within Unity, they use the C# programming language to create the scripts that make different game objects perform based on whatever we're deciding to program. Other programmers that I've seen will use the Visual Studio Code. It's a lighter version of the actual software, but there are a couple extra steps involved to get it to work correctly. And even when you follow those same steps, most of the time it doesn't work identical to the community. So even though the community here has a little bit more weight to it as far as the file size, I would recommend that you go ahead and install this. Now, the only difference is if you install the Studio, the community version here, it's going to ask you to create a Microsoft account. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well so we can walk through the steps of setting up a Microsoft account in order for me to use this. And the reason why I would recommend installing the Studio community version is because what happens if you decide you want to program outside of Unity? Visual Studio has other languages and other applications that you could create beyond the scope. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to install the necessary dev tools. And then based on the platform, if you're going to work and build for mobile, either Android, iOS, tvOS, any Linux builds, any standard development for Mac or Windows-based builds, you have those options as well to add these now or even later. But the one that they give you right up front that I recommend is just to do the WebGL build. That way we can build our application, our games for the internet to be playable via the browser. So those are the two modules that I'm going to add, the Microsoft Visual Studio Community, as well as WebGL build support. And then I'm going to click on continue. I want to click on agree for the Microsoft, and then allow that to go through the process of installing our different applications. So this could take some time to go through and install the different protocols here. So if you want to, pause the video, let your thing run through, and then we'll come back once this is all done and installed. So in your downloading process, you may get that it's installing the Studio here. So you may get this pop-up here, the Visual Studio installer. I want to go ahead and click on continue while this is still installing. It's still installing the WebGL. It only has installed the editor application Unity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on continue, and then I'm going to let this run as well. This may take a few minutes as well. So I'm going to pause the video, and then once this is done downloading and installing, I will resume and we'll catch you when this is ready. So Visual Studio has finished installing, and now it's asking for its own modules. This is where you can extend the functionality of Visual Studio Community 2022. They've got different setup applications that you can go with, but the one that we're going to be most focused on here is under the gaming section. There is this game development with Unity. And this is the one that I want to check off on because I want to make sure that I'm getting all of the optional software that needs to come with it in order for this to work properly. So make sure that in the modules for the Visual Studio Community 2022 that I'm installing the game development with Unity. Click that checkbox. You could install other modules if you decide you want to program in different functionality for desktop applications, for web. You got Python development, Node.js, and so forth. But that would be for a different time and place. So I'm going to go ahead and install this recommended module for Visual Studios, and then you're going to let that run for a few more minutes as well. And while that's installing, we'll come back and catch you when this is done. So my version of Unity has been installed. This is what you should see. All three have been checked off. You should see this on your Unity hub. Everything has been installed successfully. Then for Visual Studio, the installer, it should have set up, and it's going to ask you to sign into your Microsoft account, whether you're an Xbox user or you have an Outlook account or you have a Microsoft account that's been created using something other than an Outlook account. You can go ahead and sign in here, and or you can create an account as well. If you are a student that is using a school email, Visual Studios will not allow you to create a Microsoft account with a school issued email. You're going to have to use a personal email, maybe a parent, or you have a personal email that you've created. You're going to need to use that in order to get signed in, or get your parents' permission to use their email to get you signed in to Visual Studios. And then for now, we're just going to go ahead and skip this. We'll save this for a different video to create that Microsoft account for you and then get set up as well. So I'll skip for now. I'm going to go ahead and choose a theme here. I'm going to choose the dark theme. Development setting, I'm going to leave this as general. And then I'm going to click on Start Visual Studios. And while that's starting, the installer, I can go ahead and close the installer out. I can close down some of these tabs here. I'm going to minimize Unity Hub. And now I have Visual Studios installed correctly. That's it for this video. In the next one, we'll go over starting our project in Unity, getting things connected to Visual Studio for our scripting files. Thanks for watching.